Hello guys, this is Final Fantasy Lover here, and we are going to do a creepypasta. A Chuck E. Cheese one to be exact. You may have watched this on Mr. Creepypasta's channel, and one thing is I couldn't find it on any creepypasta websites. I had to go on Facebook just to find it. Now, you may know the name as the real Chuck E. Cheese, but if you don't, continue watching this video. Now I'm gonna read. The real Chuck E. Cheese. Have you ever thought that there was something the creators of Chuck E. Cheese were hiding something from us all? Or have you ever found something to be off about the place? Even the creepy robotic mascots that danced on the stage? I didn't until I found the truth about Chuck E. Cheese. It all began on the first time I ever visited the place. I was around the age of 5 or 6, so of course I was pretty excited to go. Seeing all those commercials of kids eating pizza and running around without a care in the world on arcade games and on the play structure made me almost get down on my hands and knees to plead and beg my mom to take me. After finally getting her to break, she took me. I was the happiest kid in the world. My mom drove me over just a few hours before evening, so maybe around 4:30 or so. I almost knocked the woman over the woman at the door who gave me the little stamp on my hand, running ahead of my mom, bursting through the doors like a maniac child. Eventually I was stamped and literally screeching as I ran around to all the games and playsets. After a bit, I stumbled on over to a game like whack-a-mole but with sharks, right by the staff-only room. One shark whacking minute later, I won the game. Before I could squeal in success and collect my tickets, my ears caught the sound of something very strange going near the staff-only room. I could hear someone say, "Test number 15 on mutated rat results and anger behaviors, such as throwing desks and scientists at the wall." I then began wondering what in the world they could be talking about. Maybe they were making a new game? Being so young, I had no idea what no idea at all what was actually going on in there. Being curious and feeling a little bit interested, I pressed myself against the door and listened carefully as a 6-year-old could. I could hear them snapping at each other like things. I could hear them snapping at each other things like, "What are we going to do with the beast? Get it and get it away from me." A mumble shout poured over whoever was in there, and replied with a louder, "We can't just kill that thing. It's a beast version of our mascot." The talking stopped. I blinked for a second and pressed myself closer to the door. I quickly realized that was a very bad mistake. This was a very bad mistake. As the door opened from my weight against it, I slipped in, going from leaning onto the door from falling face flat on the ground of the staff room. Immediately, footsteps trampled over to me, hands grabbing at my arm. I was out like a few seconds, and I didn't know what the hell they did to do that. I woke up slowly, my eyes feeling heavy and my body feeling weak, in some kind of interrogation room. A tall man with a serious expression, wearing the cleanest lab coat I'd ever seen, began walking towards me out of blue, like he knew I'd be awake. Like he knew I was awake. His voice was deep, and it was scratchy for what then I could tell when he began to speak. You know, don't you? You know," he said. I was a 6-year-old, half knocked out, at a Chuck E. Cheese, so I didn't know what they expected from me. I babbled a second, letting my tongue function correctly. What? I replied dumbly, blinking hazily. He grabbed my arm, making the static feeling intensify somehow. He pulled me a bit, making me whine, though I quickly shut my toddler trap when a loud banging on the door echoed throughout the room. Naturally, me being so young and clueless, I screamed, thrashing around. A man let go of me, snapping at me to shut my mouth. Forgetting about almost everything, I thrashed around some more, slipping out of my chair, I kicked my legs, going into the corner of my room. I screamed again, banging my foot against something, making a loud metal clang against my foot. I twisted around and whined at an air vent. I kicked it again out of scared, hot anger with another loud scream and clang. The metal front popped off again, letting out a shriek when I heard the man stomping towards me out of the noise of claw metal and banging. I scooted inside, spinning at him. I was scared half to death. What was I doing here? Where was my mom? He swiped at me for a moment, but quickly pulled his hand back. There was another loud bang, and the man stepped back. Using my tiny little hands, I grabbed the air vent's door and pulled back, pressing it on the door just in time. A piercing hiss was followed by a shout from the stranger, and the loudest bang on the door. I crawled back, scooting back into the vent. I had to leave. Even being so young, I knew I was in trouble. I hastily turned around. With a bit of a struggle, slowly crawling down the vent. A loud, manly scream echoed through the vent, being followed by more. It was a unison with the sound of a cracking and tearing, which I now know was flesh and bone from the stranger. I got out as fast as I could. A small light was around the corner. After a few minutes, and I stomped on it. The opening was the vent, and it easily popped open. They really weren't paying attention to how tightly they were screwed on, were they? My feet stumbled, and I climbed out. But there were students trampling to where I saw my mom last, and she was still there, with a worried expression on her face. I ran up to her, hugging her tight. My eyes were now glazed, with wet, hot tears. I wanted to go home. I just want to go home. I want to go home, I whined and complained. My mother gave me a strange look and put my finger on my cheek. You must be tired, sweetheart, she cooed, picking me up and clenched small fists holding tightly on her shirt. We walked out of the building, me being oh so lovely carried to the car. A distant roar of sirens distance became a bit louder and louder, and the police car pulled up into the large parking lot and skidded to the halt in the front of the once amazing and fun Chuck E. Cheese. My mother almost ran into the car and quickly buckled me into the car seat. A couple hours later, home and safe that night, I walked to my room to get some water. I went to bed, a habit I don't know what that word is, so I didn't have to sleep. And my mother was watching the news. The reporter was talking about some kind of mutated rat coming out of the Chuck E. Cheese, disappearing from the alleyways. So, whatever happened to the real Chuck E. Cheese? God only knows. But I will never, and I repeat, never go into any damn Chuck E. Cheeses for as long as I live. So that was the Chuck E. Cheese creepypasta. I hope you liked it. I liked it when I read it, and I hope you guys liked it. So I hope you enjoy. Farewell. Just kidding. Bye, bye. And our motto is, we make some of the funniest videos around. I'm going to go. See you later.